We're going to start this session off with our ball and our 2 lacrosse sticks with the standing hip car. I'm going to start by taking the ball and putting it in the pit of my left knee, and I'm going to squeeze it. Now I'm going to take my poles and I'm going to irradiate into the ground. So I'm driving the sticks into the ground, I'm squeezing the core, and then I'm going to pull this knee up as high as I can. As I pull this knee up as high as I can, I'm going to think about kicking a hacky sack with the inside of my foot. From here, squeezing the core, I'm going to open my knee out to the side as far as I can and as high as I can. Now notice as you get there, you're going to want to let that butt flare. Keep the pelvis tucked, and then we're going to drop the knee and lift the foot. It is okay if that knee drops down a little bit, but just as high as you can. Keep irradiating into the sticks and slowly circle around. Knee is going to come by standing leg. Now I push that leg back while tucking the hips underneath me. Now knee comes out to the side, foot drops down. I'm going to pull that knee as high as I can get it, and then think hacky sack kick at the top and slowly lower. That is 1, we're doing 3. Pulling up into that knee hip flexion, hacky sack, open the door out to the side, squeeze the core, squeeze the butt, internal rotation, the foot lifts, the knee drops, and I circle around. Keep squeezing that ball. Stick with me, drive into the sticks. Pressing back. Knee comes up. Foot drops down. Get that knee as high as we can. Hacky sack. And down. That is 2. We've got 1 more on this side. Pulling that knee up as high as we can get it. Hacky sack kick. Opening out to the side. Keep the hips tucked. Abs in. Foot lifts. Knee drops. We circle around 1 last half. Leg comes out to the side, foot drops, knee comes up, and we close the door and set it down. We're going to grab that ball. Whew, good work, y'all. Now we're going to switch sides. So we're going to take that ball, we're going to put it in the pit of the right knee, and we're going to perform that same thing here. We'll do it face on now. We're going to irradiate, drive into those sticks, squeeze that ball hard, and then bring the knee up as high as we can get it. Hacky sack kick, squeeze the core, try and get a little more height. Open out to the side. Now here, drive the hips forward, squeeze the butt. Internal rotation, the foot lifts, the knee drops. We circle around, pressing out and pulling that knee up, foot drops down. Think hacky sack kick and close that door. We've got 1, 2 more. Drive into those sticks, knee comes up as high as we can get it, hacky sack kick and squeeze, open up to the side, internal rotation, knee drops, foot lifts, and knee comes right by the side. Pressing out to the side, knee pulls up, foot drops down, and we close the door and hacky sack. That is 2 full reps. We have 1 more. Squeeze that ball, pull it up as high as we can, squeeze the core, drive into the sticks. Open out to the side, internal rotation, knee comes down by the side, lifting up, pulling knee high, and setting it down. Cool, good work guys. So those are standing hip cars. We are now going to do 2 more variations of hip cars. So getting a ton of global rotation in today. Now we're going to go into tabletop position, but perform the same move. So we're going to come onto all fours. I'm going to still use that ball. And we'll start on the left side. Take that ball, put it in the pit of the knee. Now we are in tabletop on all fours. Hands are underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the waist to belly button. Now from here, I'm going to bring this knee up towards my forearm as high as I can get it. I'm going to open out to the side. Now knee drops down, foot comes up, and we circle around, keeping the core and the back nice and flat. We'll bring that knee up to forearm, press back, open out to the side, the foot drops in towards the middle, knee comes out to the side, and we circle around. Okay, now that we've done 1, we're going to add a challenge. We're going to take our yoga block, so grab that and place it on the small of your back, okay, right above the waistband. Now you need to use your core to keep your back flat so that block doesn't fall. Knee comes up to the forearm. We open out to the side as far as we can. Don't let that block fall. Knee drops down, foot comes up, and we circle around, knee comes back to starting position. We press back and up. Knee pulls out to the side into abduction and external rotation. Knee comes up to forearm. That is 2. One more round here. Knee comes up, open up wide, circle around, and back to starting position. Squeeze that core, driving that foot up as high as we can. Abduction and external rotation. Foot drops in, knee comes out wide, and we circle around. Good work, y'all. If that block fell, that is okay. We're just gonna try and shorten up that circle, make it a little bit smaller to where you can keep that block from falling off the low back. Now we're on the other side. So right side, we put that ball in the right pit, get back into tabletop position. Knee comes up towards forearm. We open out to the side, knee drops down, foot comes up, core's engaged, getting that leg as high as we can, and back to starting position. We're pressing back and up, squeeze the core, open out to the side, don't let that block fall. Knee comes to forearm. All right, that is 1. Open out to the side, knee drops down, foot comes up, circling around, beautiful. And working it back around, pressing back and up, squeeze that core, drop the foot towards middle, knee goes up to the side, and we circle around 2. One last rep. Knee comes up to forearm. Try and get a little more height, keeping that block on the back, circling around. Beautiful. Knee comes to center, pressing back and up. Foot drops to middle, and we circle around to forearm. All right, good work, y'all. Now we're gonna take our third variation, and this is gonna be a side lying. So I'm gonna start on the ground. Arms are out. Ball, so you guessed it, in the pit of the knee. And excuse me, we're gonna start on the left side since we just worked the right. So take that ball, put it in the left pit of the knee, laying on our left side. I'm gonna grab the block out in front of us. Core's engaged. I'm gonna bring my knee up as high as I can into that hacky sack position. So even though we're laying on our side, we've been here before. Now we're gonna open up. Notice how you're gonna wanna rock back towards the wall behind you. Try not to. Keep the pelvis stacked right on top of each other, open as wide as you can. Now we go internal rotation. So the knee is actually gonna drop slightly down. The foot's gonna pull back and up towards the head. And then we're just gonna lower straight down. We're gonna work it backwards now. So we push back towards the back wall. Then we drop the foot down and the knee comes up. This is external rotation. Knee pulls into armpit, and then we circle around hacky sack kick and return. That is 1. Bring it up, hacky sack, open out to the side, keeps pelvis stacked on top of each other. Internal rotation, foot comes out wide, and we lower down, opening back up, knee pulls up to the ceiling, foot drops towards the ground, pulling knee into armpit, circling around. That is 2. One more rep here, pulling that knee up into the armpit, hacky sack kick. Open out to the side, squeeze the core, keeping hips stacked. We go into internal rotation, and now we're going to work it backwards. Press back, foot drops down, knee pulls up, squeezing on that block, knee into armpit, and we rest. Awesome. Now we're going to flip sides here. I'm going to come to the other side, same setup here. Ball goes in the pit of the knee on the right side. Arms are out in front of us. And we're gonna work it. Squeeze the core. Pelvis stays stacked on top of each other. We bring the knee up towards the block. Hacky sack kick. Squeeze. Open up as wide as we can get, keeping the hips on top of one another. Internal rotation. The knee drops down. Foot comes up. And that leg drops straight to the ground. From here, we lift up. Foot drops down. Knee pulls up into the armpit. All the way as high as we can get it. Hacky sack kick. And return. That is 1 rep. We have 2 more. Restarting that rep, pulling knee up into the armpit as high as we can. Hacky sack kick. Open the door hinge. Internal rotation. Foot pulls up towards the head. Knee drops down towards the feet. And we're going to work it backwards. Now squeeze the core. Drop the foot. Pull the knee into the armpit. Hacky sack kick. And return. That is 2. We have 1 last rep. Knee comes up. Hacky sack kick, open out to the side, internal rotation, lands in starting position, and we work it all the way back. Beautiful job there. Cool. Now we're gonna get into a little bit of strength. So I'm gonna find a wall or my stick next to me. I'm gonna take my left hip or left knee and I'm gonna pull it up as high as I can get it, Back's nice and straight, core is engaged. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and pull my knee out of my supporting hand. So I'm pulling my knee out as hard as I can, and then I slowly remove the hand and hold for 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and slowly parachute it down to the ground. We're gonna do 5 of those. So bringing that knee up, I can get it to here, I wrap my hand around the shin, pull it up an extra 2 inches or so, brace the core, and then try and pull that knee up towards the ceiling as high as you can get it, and slowly remove that support for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and slowly parachute it down. That's 2 reps, 3 to go. Knee comes up, grab onto the shin, give it an extra tug, brace the core, ground down through the supporting leg, pull the knee up towards the ceiling, brace the core, and slowly lose that support. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bring it down. Whew. 3 down, 2 to go. Bring that foot back up. Assist. Brace the core. Pull the knee up towards the ceiling and slowly remove that support. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and parachute it down. Last rep here, 5 of 5. Knees up high as we can get it. Pull it way up, bracing the core. Knee pulls up towards the ceiling. Everything you got here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Whew. All right, that was brutal. Take a couple deep breaths. Then we're gonna move on to the other side here. So we find that wall, same exact movement. We bring that knee up as high as we can, assist with the hand, pull it a little higher. Now the knee is driving up towards the ceiling as I slowly slip that hand, that support away, and hold. 10, 9, everything should be engaged here. The core, the standing leg glute, punching this fist out. 3, 2, and 1, parachute it down. That's 1 rep. We're gonna burn through all 5 of these. Pull that knee up, brace the core, drive the knee towards the ceiling, and slowly remove that hand. 10, 9, 8, check in with the core, spread the toes wide, punch that fist out. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, parachute it down. 2 down, 3 to go. Knee pulls up high as we can get it, and let go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Drop it down. 2 more. Knee comes up. Pull out of the hand and release. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Parachute it down. Last rep. 5 of 5. Here we go. Pulling that knee up. Pulling that shin a little higher. Flex the toe. Knee drives up and release. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Parachute it down. Awesome work. Now we're going to go into a little bit of squat work. This is going to be a similar movement, but probably a new challenge to what you've felt. What we're going to do is create that same tension that we did on our hip cars and through that hip flexion, passive range hold. I'm going to irradiate. So I'm going to make 2, or clasp my hands right in front of me. I'm going to squeeze them as hard as I can, okay? I'm going to roll my shoulders back. Belly button draws in. Pull the ground apart. Try and rip the ground. So now body's at maximum tension. I want 100% here, squeezing out the dirty sponge. And then you're going to slowly pull yourself down into this squat. We're going to take 20 seconds on the way down. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. Keep pulling, squeezing, irradiating tension. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Once we hit the bottom of our squat, we're gonna drive up for 20, really slow. 10, keep spreading the ground apart. Keep squeezing the feet, squeezing the core, shoulders pull back. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We're right back into next rep. Let's go. We're doing 3 of these. Squeeze the fist, roll the shoulders back, squeeze the core, spread the ground apart. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we're back up. Spread that ground apart. Drive the ground away. 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we have one more. Shake those arms out real quick. Bounce those legs. And we're back into it. Grab those fists together. Roll the shoulders back. Squeeze navel, core in. Spread the ground apart for 20, 19, 18. Pulling yourself down. Spreading your toes wide. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we reverse force, driving the ground away, spreading the feet apart. 18, 17, 16. Slow it down. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And release. Shake it out. Whew. All right, y'all. That is a wrap for today's session. Look ahead, and we will have more coming your way. Today's class is all about the spine and how it moves. So for starters, the spine has 24 individual vertebrae, which are 24 individual movement points in the back. Most people can only use a few of those. So throughout this session, we are going to learn how to articulate movement in more of those spaces. So we're going to start in a seated position. So I'm going to give you a second. Go find a chair. I grabbed mine from my office. It could be a coffee table, anything, but we want it to be firm, so not a couch cushion would be ideal. Okay, you can pause me, go find that, and once you find it, go ahead and hit play. We're gonna start. So we're gonna start by articulating movement at the bottom of the spine. So we're gonna cross our arms. We're gonna suck the belly button back towards the back wall, so sucking the belly button in, and we're going to push the hips forward. So you'll notice the low back starts to create a little pressure and it starts to round. Now I'm going to move up my abdomen, pressing my bottom of my rib cage towards the back wall, slowly rounding all the way forward, chin to chest. That is full spinal flexion. Now I'm going to hold this position, but I'm going to push my belly button out, my butt back, and I'm going to arch my low back. So notice how my low back is starting to arch, but my upper back is still rounded. And then I'm going to slowly transition up into full extension, sucking the belly button in to brace the core. That is one movement. Now I'm going to start in the tailbone again. Tailbone tucks under, belly button sucks in. We're rounding the low back, moving up through mid back, and then finally the upper back. Good. We're going to do 10 of these. That was one full rep. From here, pushing tailbone back, pushing belly button forward, arching low back, mid back, upper back, full extension, expression. Now we start in the tailbone again. Tailbone tucks under, belly button sucks in. We're rounding low back, upper back still in extension, holding out, and then slowly rounding forward. That's 2. We're just going to flow through now. Tailbone goes back, belly button goes forward, moving up the spine into extension, and then we round that bottom tailbone again, moving up the spine slowly, going into flexion. That's 3, heading back into extension, butt goes back, belly button goes forward, arching mid back, upper back, full extension, tailbone tucks under, moving up the spine, rounding forward, chin to chest. That's 4, tailbone goes back, belly button goes forward, rib cage flares, full extension, tucking tailbone, abs sucking in, rounding forward, full flexion, that's 5. Tailbone goes back, rib cage flares, moving through the spine, and tucking tailbone. Feels like a wave is moving through the body. Chin to chest, that is 6. 4 more. Tailbone goes back, abs suck in, slowly wringing out that extension, and tailbone tucks under. Belly button sucks in, rib cage presses down, chin to chest, full flexion, that's 7. Tailbone goes back, abs suck in, rib cage lifts, head to the ceiling, heart to the ceiling, tucking tailbone, rounding up the spine slowly. That's 8. We have 2 more of these. Tailbone goes back, abs suck in, heart lifts towards the ceiling, head looks up, full extension, tuck the tailbone, rib cage presses down, rounding forward and squeeze. That's 9. 1 more here. Tailbone goes back, abs suck in, heart to ceiling, full extension, squeeze, and slowly transition all the way down into flexion. Whew, beautiful. So that was flexion and extension of the spine in a seated position. Now we're going to move into tabletop. So scoot the chair. We will be using it again. So just off to the side. We're going to come to tabletop. And now we're going to do that same thing here. We're going to do 5 of them. But we're going to do that same thing. So I'm going to start in tabletop. Okay? And then I'm going to go into extension. So my butt goes up towards the ceiling. My low back arches. And this is going to look like a cow in yoga. So full extension of the spine. Now I'm going to hold this upper portion of the spine, the expression, and then I'm going to slowly tuck the tailbone under, abs sucking in, belly button presses up, and then I'm going to slowly move into full flexion, chin to chest. Now I'm going to hold this upper body concave position, and then I'm going to slowly arch that tailbone, arch that low back, and pushing forward through my hands to get traction, moving into extension, squeezing belly button. Since we started here, this is 1 rep. Holding the upper body, tuck the tailbone, sucking abs in, feel the movement rolling through the spine. Last to go is the upper back, chin to chest and round, arching low back, abs suck in, butt pushes back, moving into extension. That is 2. Tailbone rounds, head drops, pressing heart to ceiling, and arching that low back. Abs are sucking up and in. I'm pushing the hands away from the knees and arching. That is 3. We have 2 more. Tucking tailbone, moving through mid-back, chin to chest. Now tailbone goes again, abs sucking in, arching back. That is 4. Last rep here, tucking tailbone, going for full expression, abs sucking in. Push the heart to the ceiling, rounding, abs sucking in as much as you can, tucking tailbone. And then we reverse. Tailbone pushes back, abs sucking in, arching mid-back, upper back, and full extension. That is 5 reps right there. Now we're going to go into our rotation portion. So we learned flexion and extension and got to practice it in 2 different positions. Now we are going to go into a spine car, which is full rotation. This has a rotational element and a flexion extension. So that is why we learn the flexion and extension and practice that first. Now we move into rotation. So I'm going to start with my arms crossed. Practice what we just did. We round through the low back, mid back, and upper back. Now when I'm fully rounded or flexed forward, I'm going to rotate over to the left in full flexion. So I'm going to get as much rotation as I can, rounding forward. Now I'm going to drop my left shoulder and I'm going to transition in the tailbone. So butt pushes back like we practice. Abs suck in and we slowly arch the back all the way into extension. Once we're in extension, we're going to start to rotate over to that right side. Keep rotating as much as you can in extension. Now we make that transition. Tailbone tucks under, moving up the spine. Full flexion. Once we have full flexion, rotate to center. We're going to reverse directions now. We're going to go over to the right side. So full flexion, rounding forward, tucking tailbone, rotate over to the right. Once we max out the rotation, starting in the tailbone, butt pushes back, low back arches, moving up through the spine into full extension, rotate over to the left. Once we rotate and can't go anymore, now we start in the tailbone again, rounding forward, abs sucking in and unwinding. That is 1. We are taking 5 here, y'all. Round forward, rotating over to the left as far as it can, rounding forward, dropping left shoulder, arching low back, full extension, rotating over to the right side. Keep rotating until you stop. You'll hit a wall. Once you hit that wall, in the tailbone first, tuck tailbone under, moving up the spine into flexion. Once we max out that flexion, we round back to center. Take a breath. Now we're going to go over to that right side again, rotating to the right, starting in the tailbone, pushing butt back, abs suck in, arching back, and we rotate through extension over to the left side, tucking tailbone, rounding forward, and finishing that rotation. Beautiful. We have 2 more. We're going to rotate over to that left side, extend the spine, leaning back, rotating over to the right, as much rotation as we can grab, then tucking in the tailbone, rounding forward into flexion. Rotating over to the right, pushing butt back, extension starting in the low back, arching back, rotating over to the left side, as much rotation as we can get. Tuck the tailbone, rounding forward, and unrotate. 1 more rep, I believe. Now rotating over to the left, starting in the low back, extend the spine, unrotate over to the right, tucking tailbone, and rounding forward. Whew. All right. Now we're going to set that chair aside, and lastly, we're going to learn the standing, or practice the standing spine car. So now our feet are going to go wide here, and we're going to do that same movement. So now the hips can move though. So we have to use our glutes to isolate just the spine, which when we were seated, we didn't need to do. So we're going to squeeze the glutes here. I'm going to cross my arms. I tuck my pelvis underneath. I round forward as far as I can, and then as I rotate to the left, I'm pushing my left hip forward. So I'm rotating to the left, pushing left hip forward. Once I end rotation, it starts in the tailbone. Arch the tailbone, moving up the spine, going into extension, we rotate over, and as I start heading over to the right side, I have to push right hip forward as I rotate to the left, or to the right, excuse me. And then we go tuck the tailbone, moving up the spine, rounding forward. That's half a rep. We're going to reverse. Tuck the tailbone, rounding to the right. Tailbone arches, moving up the spine. We rotate over to the left side. Left hip presses forward as I rotate to that left side. Tucking tailbone and rounding forward. That's 1. We're doing 3 of these. Rotating over to the left. Front, or left hip pushing forward as I rotate back. Starting the tailbone, moving up through the spine. Rotating over to the right. Right hip pushes forward. And tuck the tailbone, rounding into flexion. And return, rotating to the right. Starting in the tailbone. Tailbone goes back, arching back. Rotating over to the left. Tucking tailbone and rounding through center. We have 1 more rep here. Get as much flexion as you can get. Squeeze those glutes. Rotate to the left, hip driving forward. Extend through the spine. Rotating to the right. Front hip goes, or right hip goes forward as I tuck tailbone and round. Good. 1 last half rep. Rotating to the right. Right hip goes forward. Extend the spine. Rotating to the left. Tuck the pelvis and round forward. After that spine car, we are now going to practice using flexion of the spine in a move. So we're going to finish off with a Jefferson curl. So on the Jefferson curl, we start standing tall. I'm going to collapse the shoulders forward, and I'm going to work from the top of the spine now down. So my pelvis is tucked. I round forward, chin to chest, moving slowly down the spine. So now I'm in full flexion of the spine. I can't go anymore. I'm going to slowly then release the hips to hinge all the way forward, reaching down as low as I can, and I am at my bottom. Now, as I come up, I want to go spine full flexion, and I'm trying to use my hamstrings to pull down on my pelvis, stacking the hips on top of the legs, and then working the spine all the way back up. So if you took that one with me, awesome. We are now going to do 5 together. So I'm standing tall. I'm going to round the shoulders forward. Chin comes to chest. Now I slowly move into flexion, tucking pelvis, squeezing butt. Get as much as you can out of the spine. Once you have no more, slowly release the pelvis. Feel the hamstrings lengthening. Spine is still rounding as far as I can get. We're going to hinge forward. Now we're going to work it back up. Pull down on those hamstrings. Pull rib cage down towards the waist. Once the hips stack on top of the hamstrings, then we slowly stack the spine vertebrae by vertebrae. That was 1. Let's continue on. Tuck that pelvis. Round shoulders, chin to chest. Moving down the spine, rounding, rounding, rounding. Once you can't get any more in the spine, pelvis releases, hamstrings lengthen, ribs drive down to waistband, and we go into full forward fold. Working it back up, pull those hamstrings down. Ribs try and touch waistband, crunching, rounding spine, and then slowly working that spine back up. Good, that was 2, 3 more to go. Squeeze that butt, chin to chest, round the shoulders, moving down the spine, all the way down, abs sucking in, pelvis releases, hinging forward, abs sucking in, and full forward fold. Rib cage drives down to the waistband. Stack the hips on top of the legs. Now spine goes vertebrae by vertebrae all the way back up. We have 2 more. Take a deep breath here. And here we go. Chin to chest. Squeeze the butt. Round the shoulders. Crunching down. Rib cage drives the waistband. Once we can't get any closer, now pelvis tilts forward, lengthening the hamstrings. Full forward fold. Drive those hamstrings back down as I'm pushing my ribs towards my waistband. Once the hips stack on the legs, slowly bringing spine all the way back up. And last rep here, squeeze the butt. Start at the top, shoulders roll forward, chin to chest, squeezing abs in as much as I can, get as tight and as hollow as I can. Ribs down to waistband, pelvis tilts, slowly entering full forward fold. And we're working it back. Pelvis stacks on top of those hips. Abs sucking in, ribs driving down to waistband, and slowly work that spine all the way back up. Whew. All right, so we went through flexion and extension, rotation of the spine, and then we put flexion into practice throughout that Jefferson curl. So stay tuned, we got more coming.